Okay, you're gonna have to bear with me a little bit because my viewfinder's a little broken. So I'm seeing myself upside down, so I'm not quite sure what this shot is. Anyway, bonjour mon petit chiflet, Amber here, and it is currently almost the end of July. Today is July 26th, which means we are over halfway through 2023. Exactly. That I don't know where this year is gone. I don't know what I don't really know what time is anymore, but I do know that this means that it's time for one of my favorite videos of every year, which is the mid-year book freakout tag. I think I said that right. I might not post consistently. The last video I may have posted might have been maybe over a month ago, but I will always post my mid-year book freakout tag, despite how heavy on the mid this year has been. My reading year, okay, if you have been here, you know I've been in a battle with myself basically. So at the start of this year, I decided I was really going to just kind of allow myself to wing it throughout the year, and this was the year I was going to allow myself to be a mood reader. Leaving 2022, I had, you know, plans lined up for designated reading vlogs, and they just haven't happened this year because I've been winging it. And with winging it, alongside that, I haven't read a lot of books that I love this year. A lot of books have just been okay for me, or just reads to fill the space where I can't focus on what I want to be reading, but I can't not read, or else I will feel absolutely restless and kind of almost panicky if I'm not I guess stimulating my brain in that sort of way. So answering these questions was a little difficult, a bit of a challenge this year. On top of that, with not, I guess, participating in reading the way I usually do, I have been kind of living under, I won't say a rock, but like maybe like a plank as far as what's going on, like releases and yeah, that. So bear with me, I'm sorry. Anyway, I talked for far too long. Let's just jump into this. Okay, so the first prompt is best book you've read so far this year, and when I wrote down the answers, this was the easiest one because it was the one I had just finished reading at the end of last month, and it's As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow by xoxo. That book wrecked me. It shattered me, and it was so beautiful and so, my brain just got so dramatic. It was like such a kaleidoscope of emotions, and when I tell you it shattered me, I'm still not over it. I'm still kind of inconsolable and very sensitive when it comes to bringing up that book. And for a debut, okay, let's move on. So next is the best sequel you have read so far this year. I don't think I've read a lot of sequels that weren't like just companion novels. I've read a lot of romance this year because a lot of the time that's all that I can manage. I have kind of been struggling with fantasy this year, which sucks because so much of my yearly TBR is fantasy. So much of what I want to be reading and buying is fantasy. The best sequel I read this year was Redemptor by Jordan Ifweko, which is the sequel and conclusion to Raybearer, and it was such, for me personally at least, a satisfying arc and kind of conclusion of the story. It kind of felt like an ending that was open to future updates, I guess, a future, like some down the road, a novella even. I don't want to say open ending because it's not like an open ending open to interpretation, but it's closure that is also open to a future. Does that make sense? I love Raybearer so much. It's one of my, instantly became one of my favorite books. So I just loved being back in this world. I enjoyed this like arc that Ara was on. Not Ara. Tarsai. Why did I go to, what is that? Kingdom of Souls? I don't know where my brain just went. Tarsai was on, and just her dealing with a lot of like guilt and anxiety and like all these new expectations and responsibilities and requirements. I'm trying to think how to describe this without spoiling anything. But next is a new release you haven't read yet but want to, and like I said, I have been slacking when it comes to keeping track of releases and anticipated releases. I do know Master of Souls came out recently, which is the final book in the Kingdom of Souls trilogy, which is possibly why I was thinking of Ara. And while I didn't particularly love book 2, I am hopeful that the conclusion will bring us back on track to like where, like the level that of the story that we had in book 1, you know, because I loved book 1 so much, which is why book 2 was so disappointing, and the disappointment just like hurt so much. What's the other one? The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by S.A. Chakraborty. That came out a few months ago, maybe earlier in the year. I don't know, I could be making that up, but I really want to read that. I think I have like a Fairy Loot edition of that, but I don't want to like risk damage to like my collector edition, so I need to get a physical copy of that. I love the Daevabad trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty, so I'm curious to see what type of world she's spun in this story. I don't remember if this is like in this, I don't think this is in the same world, but I know that it's like a pirate story, and that in and of itself, count me in. Staying with, I'm slacking in this department, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Every time I try to like answer this question, my brain blanks because I'm like, I don't even know what books are coming out later this year. But I did manage to write a few down. A Study in Drowning by Ava Reed. I've read, what is that book called? The Wolf and the Wolfsman, and I still want to read Juniper and Thorn. This one, I believe, is it this one? That's sort of like I think it's a dark academia, fantasy dark academia type situation, and I'm intrigued by that. House of Roots and Ruin by Aaron A. Craig, which is the sequel finally to House of Salt and Sorrow, which I absolutely loved. That was a 12 Dancing Princesses retelling of sorts. I particularly loved it because there was a lot of like Edgar Allan Poe influence to it as well, like Annabelle Lee and whatnot, and there was also sort of like a Rosemary's Baby situation at the end. So I really loved that book. I have been hoping for a sequel. I was so excited when Aaron finally announced that there was going to be one. Beholder by Ryan LaSala comes out this year, which is thrilling. I love Ryan's books, and I have enjoyed all of them, especially The Honey. So I can't wait to see what twisted shenanigans we get up to this time. And also, one I keep forgetting to write down, but has been floating on the outskirts of my radar. It's I Feed Her to the Beast and the Beast Is Me by Jameson Shea. I've been seeing this cover all over Twitter, and every time I'm like, ooh, that's a cover. I only know like the vaguest amount. I finally looked up the premise today. Absolutely, absolutely. It says Ace of Spades and House of Hollow. Ace of Spades meets House of Hollow in this villain origin story. It kind of feels like a sort of like Black Swan type of situation with a maybe sort of like, I don't know if it's vampires or what, some sort of creature. Biggest disappointment of 2023. This is maybe the easiest. My hands are so red. What can you see? Okay. Where's my camera? Biggest disappointment of 2023 is very easy, actually. I have two. Girls of Storm and Shadow by Natasha Nyan, which I think was my biggest disappointment. Was it last year or the year before last? I don't remember, but I finally finished it. I went ahead and just listened to the audiobook, and I could not tell you what happened in that book. While reading it, I couldn't tell you what was going on in that book. It truthfully feels like someone else wrote it. It feels like Girls of Paper and Fire and Girls of Storm and Shadow were written by two completely different people who have never even met before. No. And I'm sad because I loved book one. It's one of my favorite books. And I just knew that book two was going to do something, and now I don't even want to buy book three. I initially said I was at least going to buy it so I'd have the whole series for my bookshelf, but now I'm like, I have Girls of Storm and Shadow on my Pango books. I'm like, as soon as I closed it and put it immediately up for sale, so if you're interested, I'll link it down below. And now I don't even want to buy book three. I don't care where the story goes. It doesn't matter to me. Anyway, the second book I have, I guess it isn't necessarily it's a disappointment because it was bad, but it's not a disappointment because I wasn't really expecting much from it. I finally read The Duke and I by Julia Quinn. After my, after my third watch of Queen Charlotte, I was missing just like Bridgerton content, and I couldn't convince my mom to watch it again just yet. We have since watched it again. We've rewatched the first 2 seasons of Bridgerton as well, and I'm still consuming a lot of India Corey content. My friend Ellen, who we are Bridgerton babes together, I think she was reading, it wasn't Penelope, was it Eloise? Maybe it was Eloise's book, I don't remember. But I know I've been saying to her that I need to start the books so like we can talk about them, and we were talking, we were talking. Somehow it came up that she hadn't read The Duke and I yet, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna start it. If you start it, I'll start it. So Shonda Rhimes did so much heavy lifting to make season 1 of Bridgerton what it was. And unfortunately, the Daphne situation is still a thing in the show, but somehow it's so much worse in the book. And I know I had heard people had said that, but I struggled to get through the end of, like, the last third of that book. I hate Daphne so much. After reading this, I had to cleanse my palate, cleanse my spirit. I had to baptize myself. So I started season 1, and then that's only the second time I've watched it. And when you think about the fact that I've watched, after that obviously I watched season 2, so I've watched season 2 7 times. I've watched season 1 twice, and I've watched Queen Charlotte 4 times now. That being said, I decided that I will not be reading The Viscount Who Loved Me, even though I have it, because I love season 2 so much. I am so feral for that season, and I cannot let a travesty like what I'm sure that book is going to be taint my love in any sort of way. So yeah, that happened. Next is biggest surprise. For me, that would be The Merciful Crow by Margaret Owen. I've had the book for so long. Yeah, and I had it because I want the book, but I couldn't bring myself to read it. And this is why. Because reading the synopsis on the flap, it sounds so similar to one of my whips, if you will. So one of the things I'm working on. And I didn't want, if it was a similar story, I didn't want it to influence my writing in any sort of way. I didn't want to like subconsciously plagiarize or like take bits of Margaret's story. But I did finally go ahead and read it, and it's not at all like what I was writing. Just the bones, if you will. But oh my god, it's so good. The writing is so good. I love the characters of this book. I love the magic system and the journey that the characters are going on. I have The Faithless Hawk, and I'm debating reading it in August because I just need to finish, and I need to finish so I can move on and then read Little Thieves. I want to finish one duology before I start another. I don't know if is it a series. I think this one's a trilogy, perhaps. I don't know. I love Margaret's writing. I love when girls are allowed to be angry, just filled with rage and vengeance. And so after that is favorite new author, and I have two answers for this. The first is xoxo, author of As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow. Obviously, that was like so far my favorite book thus far this year. Of course, that has to be, she has to be like a favorite new author. I just adore her writing style, her prose, and just how just magical and beautiful, even like the heavy trauma-riddled things. And also B.K. Borison, the author of the Lovelight series, Lovelight Farms, In the Weeds, Mixed Signals, and then Business Casual is coming out next year. I love those books. I fell in love with Lovelight Farms last year, the first one. And speaking of Lovelight, the next question is newest fictional crush. And the first two I have are Beckett Porter and Caleb Alvarez from the Lovelight series. Beckett is from, well, they're in all of them, but Beckett is the male main character, the love interest in the Weeds. He and Evie are everything to me. He oh, this man and his gardening and his love of rescuing little animals, little baby animals. There's a man after my own heart, a hot tattooed farmer who doesn't really like being around people, who loves space and his plants and rescuing baby animals. That is my soulmate right there, but unfortunately he is not a real person. That was weird. And aside from them, I have Hilo from Jade City by Fonda Lee. I finally read Jade City, and what else? What do I need to say, you know? Favorite new character, I have Salama and Keenan from Lemon Trees, Lemon Blossom. They have my whole heart. They are just so sweet and lovely, and just I just want the best for them. I went through so much with them, and I just want to hold them close and protect them and just keep them safe and happy and just... I gotta move on because I'm gonna cry. Well, that's fitting because the next question is book that made you cry, and I was inconsolable reading Lemon Trees. Like, there were so many times I had to like physically step away from the book and just cry. I kept my poor mother up, just like yelling about everything that was going on and just like the injustices in this world, and just, oh my god, oh, my heart, I gotta move on because I really will just sit here and cry. Okay, book that made you happy. Obviously, I talked about my crushes, so I have the Love Light books. I really adore that series. As someone who wants to have their own farm, a romance series set on a farm, all these lovely, gorgeous men, and these like the friendship between all of the girlies, and just, I want to live in Inglewild. I want to be a part of this farm. I don't know what I'd do because like bake shop's already taken. I don't know what I would do, but I want to live on this farm with these people, and I can't wait for business casual next year. Charlie and Nova, I know they're gonna shake me up. I also have You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hogle. This one I had been wanting to read for a very long time. One of my friends absolutely adores it, is always going on and on about the book and the characters, Naomi and Nicholas. And I finally just went ahead and bought the book so I could understand, because we have very similar reading tastes. So I'm like, if she loves this book, I'm gonna love this book. And I did. I really did. It took me a minute because the animosity between them was a lot, but then like their progression, them relearning each other and falling in love with each other, and we literally go through all of the love languages, or they go through experience all of the love languages, and just their banter and like the pranks they play. I just really love the story. I also would not mind it if a man just bought me a gorgeous old house in the middle of the woods with a pond. Can you tell I just want to isolate myself from the rest of the world? Next is most beautiful book you've acquired this year. I have acquired a lot of beautiful books, a lot of them from Fairy Loot, and I did not quite feel like going through all of the beautiful books that I got this year. Maybe I'll put like a little montage of some other pretty books that I've gotten this year. So I just wrote down two, and it's God Killer by Hannah Kaner. This book is gorgeous to look at, and I also really loved this book, and I'm surprised I didn't mention it for any other prompt in here. I loved this book. I think there's going to be a second one. I need there to be a second one because I need to know where the story goes from there. And then House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson. This I can't get over. I can't get over this. I want to recreate this cover so bad. Last but not least, books you need to read by the end of the year. So many of them. I need to finish Our Violent Ends. I started The Poppy War, and I'd like to finish that. I want to read I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. I want to read the Emily Henry books. I wanted to read them like this month or next month, but like I want to have a whole experience. I want to go to like the beach and read and just be in that environment. But one, I have too many other plans that I can't manage to schedule a time to go to the beach. To this weather, what do I look like on the beach with my asthma in this weather? Please be real. I also don't like sitting on the beach really in the summer, so maybe I will relegate that. I'll try to do like a fall beach trip What else do I need to read by the end of the year? I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to like see my TBR for the year. I want to continue my series of unfortunate events reread, or well, I'm past the reread now, so it's just reading the rest of the series. I want to finish the Wicked Villains series. I still need to read All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir. What is wrong with me? I want to read Comfort Me in Apples. I think I want to read that towards like spooky season though, and I also want to read A Dowry of Blood finally around spooky season. I was gonna read it or order it and read it like last month because I watched The Invitation and it kind of, I did not just pick my nose, I had dried moisturizer up here, and that just like kind of put me in like a gothic sort of Dracula-esque vibe, so I'm gonna save that for later in the year. So many books, so many. Will I get around to all of them? Absolutely not. Will I get around to most of them? Absolutely not. So that is the first half of this year done. Lord, this year is going by really fast, but thank you for watching this. Let me know some books you loved this year, hated this year, need to read by the end of the year. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you like me, feel free to subscribe. All my places are down below so you can follow me, and I'll follow you back, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.